I refuse to believe that this is the final Sum 41 album, but sadly it is. Heaven and Hell is out right now. And Davey B the Brownsound joins us. Welcome, mate.
Oh man, it's nice to be here. Thank you for taking the time to see me.
Absolutely. I mean, Sum 41 have been an integral part of our upbringing throughout our teenage years in the late 90s, early 2000s, all the way through to now when you're punching out what is your last album. Try and take all that and encapsulate that, including your time away from the band. How does it feel to be putting out a final album?
Oh, there's so many emotions. There's a sadness because it's what I feel we all do best. It's definitely what I do best. I'm not good at a lot of things. So I'm very sad about that, to be leaving a life that is essentially, it's a 1 in a trillion chance that this happens. And the fact that we've been able to sustain it over the years, and I was welcomed back into the band, it's crazy. But at the same time, it's time. There's a comfort and a release of how much pressure I think we all put on ourselves, knowing that this is the last tour.
This last tour, this last album, it's hard as a fan to comprehend that this is it for Sum 41. But how long have
Yeah.
these negotiations or conversations been happening for? Because I take it this isn't something that happened overnight with the band saying, that's it, we've done our time, it's time to throw in the towel kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it was very unanimous right away. Each of us received an email from Derek. Mine was, I don't know what anybody else's was titled, but mine was titled "There's no better way to say this," and I really thought I was getting fired from the band. I was like, what? Reviewing what I did, like reliving, and it just, yeah, that wasn't the case. It I won't explain what was in the email because that's between the two of us, but it was just a beautiful explanation as to why he felt it was time for the band to step aside. And absolutely right. And you know, I know it hurts, but it's kind of the best way to go out, with the best thing we've done with this lineup album wise, and just the high that the band is on right now. It's going to be hard once February 1st hits and we're all kind of like left with nothing to do but a bunch of gear. You know what I mean? But the ride right now is just so important, and soaking in every moment is just something we never do, but we get to on this time.
And this is something that I want you and Sum 41 and all the fans to be able to do as well. I mean, you're coming off the back of three fantastic metal albums, especially with you
Mhm.
rejoining the band as well too. I mean, we've seen Order and Decline, 13 Voices, and now the Hell side of this. There's been a bit of discord over the years with Sum 41 always being a pop punk band, but in my opinion, dating back to songs like Anik, We're All to Blame, Pain for Pleasure, like they were the metal anthems that you guys put out that the metal fans latched onto, whereas mainstream media tended to focus on the pop punky kind of stuff alongside Blink 182 at the time, that kind of thing. In your opinion, has Sum 41 always been that cross genre band between the pop punk stuff, or would you say you lean more towards the metal side because of your riffs and the brown sound antics you added to the band?
It's funny. I think that all of us are so vast that in our music, I mean, I could take you to the next room and show you my record collection. It's like everything is there. And I think every single one of us in the band is the exact same. I mean, we are we're, I wouldn't say better at playing certain things, but we lean towards certain things because there's a few things that just come a little more natural when we're all together and writing. But I don't know. I love heavy metal, but I wouldn't consider myself just metal,
Yeah.
because of everything I've been raised on and brought up with. But yeah, the I to be honest, I think that I may be in denial of the fact that I lean more towards the pop punk stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more fun to play. It just feels more natural for me.
And I guess, the antics that we saw with, Fat Lip Motivation, all of those music videos growing up, like you lived through an impressive time in the music industry. For example, back in the day when we were recording the albums, recording the songs off the radio, burning CDs, downloading stuff, all the way through to now with streaming and vinyl records making a comeback again. That must be surreal as a musician to live through all of those different eras.
Man, we literally saw big business crash on the shore, on that money wave, and just get up and not know what to do within this streaming era. When I was in a band called Brown Brigade, our idea was to become a subscription-based band. So you pay $1 a year and you get access to all this music. And what I was told by actually John McCain's daughter, Sid McCain, was that no one will ever want streaming. They'll always want physical copies of things. And then here we are today. That was just the opinion at the time. I'm sure her opinion has changed over time because she's still a very brilliant executive. But just this change over the past 30 years where music and technology blend, it's crazier than it's ever been. And I don't feel as secure in the fact that a new artist gets every chance that they should get, thanks
Yeah.
to the amount of songs being, essentially like throwing a pebble in the sea.
It's hard to keep up with, the trends. And then, of course, you add into the social media aspect. I mean, there's lots of labels out there who are relying on bands to create content. So you've essentially gone from being just a musician who writes and creates music to now creating content for social platforms in order to engage with your fans. Like, would you say that that might have been one of the factors in the demise of Sum 41, or was it technically just everything that came from Derek on the inside kind of thing and not being able to keep up anymore?
Oh, no, 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 no. I definitely don't think it's I have never seen a human being with more endurance than Derek Whibley is when it comes to work. Like, I thought I could work hard, but like ever since he's come back from his health issues, I it was like a complete reset. He works harder than he did when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
I think that just the years of, you know, seeing all those things that you just described happening, it can take an exhausting toll on a band. And it is really hard to try and rework how you approach music every, 5 to 6 years, because everything is moving so fast now. So it's a different time. And as much as I think it's hard for new artists, I think some of the new music that's coming out is really beautiful and really brilliant. And I think that because of the competition that's out there, people are doing a really good job with composition.
Yeah. And it's sort of getting to that point where it's, I don't want to say it's hard to keep up because Sum 41 have always been an integral part to the scene coming up, whether it be the pop punk scene, whether it be the metal scene or whatever it is. You can't have Sum 41 in a world without great music. And that's why I guess it's so hard for me to fathom the fact that this is it. Like, this is the final album, the final tour, and you're calling it quits after all this time.
Yeah.
The song in particular on the album that stuck with me, funnily enough, is the final one, How the End Begins. It is such a heartbreaking, gut-wrenching. I could sit here and spill my heart all day about how I feel about this song, but how did this one come to fruition? What was the thought process behind the making of it, and was it always destined to be the final track?
Well, I mean, with Derek, he will always write something and he will let the song lead him where to go. So this could be one of many songs that he had considered for the end of the record, but I don't think he could have picked a more perfect track to kind of sum up what we've done and the ride that he's been on. And yeah, I've always been a fan of how he can capture the stories we've lived through within such a small window with choice words. And I guess that's why he's a man of few words. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, we take a look at when he's on stage and he becomes a completely different persona to how he is perceived outside of it all, even in interviews or even in running into him in the street kind of thing. Like when you get Derek at the front of Sum 41 on stage or in the studio, he becomes this completely new entity and he just bears his soul. And we've followed that journey from the late 90s to where we are now. And he just keeps putting it out there. And that, I guess, that's an integral part of his ability to be able to shed so much of his life that we watch from a fan's perspective. But as you guys in studio, are you ever there in a position going, Derek, that's probably a bit too much, or you're sharing a bit too much there? You're right to do that kind of thing.
No, I more for me, I kind of take an approach where it's like, what's the story of the song? What are we trying to tell during this part? It's for me, it's more just like how to write in order to continue the story that he's trying to tell. And yeah, I would never, unless like it was very graphic and literal. I, that's the only way I would be like, yeah, let's try some metaphors and let's try to kind of word this up a little bit and make it a little more mystique.
Yeah.
Don't tell people that you went to the store and bought eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we are getting old now, and so I'd love to see,
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen some 41 tackling parenthood and the issues that come with, doing your taxes and shit like that.
Oh yeah, just as we go through the career, just way more domestically charged lyrics. Yeah.
Now, Brownsound, every time we hear a Sum 41 album, we get to hear you shred. Like one of the greatest things growing up was my best mate Bryce. He loves and adores everything you do. Uh
Right.
when you get to shine on these albums, when you get to chuck in your personal flavor, what are those influences and where have those influences played a part lately, especially with these last three albums? Because, like I was saying, with you rejoining the band and these past three albums, it really showed Sum 41's metal side and proved that you're more than just a one-dimensional band.
Well, I mean, with lead guitars, I'm obviously, I love Randy Rhoads. I love Dime, of course. Like just the guitar players that I grew up on. Spitz from Anthrax is amazing on if we're just talking shredding. Um, but this record, and you know what? I'm tired of people shitting on Kirk Hammett because
Yes, yes.
Kirk Hammett is fucking rad, and people need to just relax on that dude because he like Kill 'Em All happened. All
Yeah.
right. So shut the fuck up. Yeah. So, but that was literally the motif that Derek gave. So I sent over so the way we approached solos on this record, it was amazing. Wake up, come downstairs, shred like 10 solos, send them off to him, and he did a greatest hits off of each of those solos, and we
Right.
made one solo out of those. So it's a something called comping.
Yep.
And he thought of things, arranging things in different ways where I was like, that is amazing. Because I have a tendency to come in hard to a solo, maybe trail off a little bit because I'm running out of ideas. So a lot of times he'll take the first bit of every solo and then stack those up. Just like hook after hook. But the one motif, man, was these solos need to sound like Kirk on Kill 'Em All. And it was like, okay, I know exactly what to do because that is some of the most raw and bluesy and rad soloing. It's just it's that rock and roll heavy metal
Yeah.
that Kirk captures every single time.
And it is such a shame that your best album is your final album with some of these best solos, the best shredding I've ever heard you do. It's hard to fathom. I'm gonna cry in a second when I think about it.
Buddy, I'm 5.5 years off of 50. So I'm not gonna be able to play those solos. I'm glad that I got these in, instead of coming back and being like, "Ooh, hey, I don't know,
Can't
I'll
shred like
come
I
out with
used to
yeah,
back in the
yeah,
20s. Yeah.
just all these arthritic bends going on, and yeah, just having to shake my hand in the middle of a song."
Well, look, you've got a few more months now up your sleeve before you can finally throw in the towel completely. You said before February 1st, the final show is taking place. Australian
Yeah.
fans, we need to know. Obviously, you did the tour with The Offspring not too long ago. I'm hearing rumors, started by myself, that you might be headlining Good Things Festival at the end of the year. Can you shed light? Will you be back in Australia at some point?
We will be back in Australia. As far as the deals and what we're doing, those are still being worked out. But I mean, the one of the best things about our relationship with Australia is like we can announce and people will be there. It's just one of the greatest support fan bases that we've had in the past 30 years. It's dude, it's crazy. And the shows are just amazing, good people. I was afraid to meet Frenzel Rom at first, but then I thought they were gonna shit all over us, but once I met him, like just they're one of the bands that I grew up on. So
Yeah,
yeah, man.
they're one of the nicest
Australia's
group of people. They're just a bunch of larrikins is the best way to explain them.
nice, nice. Yeah, I have a deep love for the Australian people.
Good. Well, we have an amazing love for you from, from my perspective, from the high school years of sharing those albums around to be seeing you guys for the very first time opening for Pennywise. Have you done a headline tour in Australia? This is the fact that I can't seem to find.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it would have been years ago though.
This is what I mean. Like my first,
Um
I didn't really get to shows until like after 2006 because mum wouldn't let me. She always thought I was
ah,
going to
okay,
die.
yeah. So yeah, around 2003, 2004, we came with Unwritten Law.
Yep, gotcha.
And
Yep, yep, yep.
that was the gnarliest tour I think I have ever been a part of because both bands were just at their partying. Well, I mean, depends who you're talking to, but I would say worst, but some people would say best.
Yep.
But but it was, yeah, it was mattresses, TVs in the pool, like on a nightly basis.
Like good old proper rock star mentality.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Before we realized that lifting up all these TVs to throw out the window is putting our backs out.
Well, I'm glad you've learned. It only took you 20 years, Davey. Well, look,
Exactly.
we cannot wait for Sum 41 to get back to Australia. Honestly, Heaven and Hell is such a fantastic encapsulation of the band's history from where you started to where you are now. You should not only be proud of this album, but the legacy that you're leaving behind when you walk away from Sum 41. It's been an absolute honor as a fan and a music critic following your journey. And I cannot wait to see what it is that you guys eventually do moving forward. I hope this isn't the end for music for yourself, Dave.
Oh, Paul, I'll always be involved in music because it's really the only thing I do well. So, like I mentioned before, not a lot of skills. So, but I mean,
But you can shred like a motherfucker, so you've got that at
there we go.
least.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Just set the amp out to the window and just see who comes. Yeah, but man, I really thank you for those really kind words. And again, I know time is precious these days for everybody. So the fact that you spent some time with us today, it's really appreciated.
Nah, means the world. When you get here, I'll shout you a beer and we'll chuck some TVs out the window.
Sounds good. All right.